San Diego State baseball just made a statement, and they're officially in first place in the Mountain West Conference. They didn't just win the series, they swept Air Force, and they did it in every possible way. Game one, dominant pitching, 14 strikeouts for the pitching staff of the Aztecs on Friday night. Game two, 15 hits and a total offensive control. And game three, they were down 7-2, and they came back with 8 runs to win the contest. Not luck. That's a team figuring itself out, because a week ago, this team looked inconsistent. And right now, they're showing that they can win with power. They're showing that they can win with pitching, and they're showing that they can win situational baseball. So the question is this real? Because if this is the version of San Diego State baseball, and if this version of San Diego State baseball sticks, they're not just competing in the Mountain West. They might be the team to beat in the Mountain West, and maybe a team that gets their name called on Selection Monday. This was a statement week for San Diego State baseball. Well, softball continues to trend as one of the more frustrating but dangerous teams, and lacrosse ran into a very tough matchup. But the headline this week for Aztec sports, baseball is now in first place in the Mountain West.
Yeah, San Diego State just swept their series against the Air Force Falcons. As it sits, they're right now 18-15, 7-2 in the conference, which puts them in first place. And they did it in 3 very different ways. They had a 9-2 win in game one with back-to-back bombs from Tice Peterson and Jake Jackson, 14 strikeouts from the pitching staff in total, a very dominant, very complete performance. Game two, they had an 11-2 win where they bombarded Air Force with 15 hits and a balanced offense, power and small ball working together, their most complete offensive showing of the season. And then in game three on Sunday, a 12-9 win. They had trailed at one point by 7-2, as you had mentioned, scored 8 runs over 2 innings, and showed a lot of resilience and firepower. So 3 games, 3 very different ways to win, but at the end of the day, they were all wins.
And here's the difference now. Last week, they were, surviving chaos.
Mm-hmm.
This week, they're starting to control game. Pitching has stabilized. Offense is deep 1 through 9, and they can win with power or situational hitting. This looks like a legit conference contender now. And if they're able to win the conference, they're able to hear their name announced on Selection Monday and potentially have, there's a good chance that San Diego, the city of San Diego, could potentially have multiple teams in the NCAA tournament, because as we get to the USD update, they had a really good bounce back weekend, as well as UCSD continues to do damage also in the Big West. So baseball, big step for the Aztecs, now in first place in the Mountain West Conference. Now on to softball. Same story, different week. Another roller coaster for San Diego State softball versus Utah State. They lost game 1, 4-3. Late lead blown in the final frames. They won 9-1 in their second game with a run rule domination, and in game 3 they lost 5-4. Late comeback falls short. They're now 20-17 on the season, 5-7 in the Mountain West. Very tough to see for Aztec softball, who is projected to have such a great year this year.
Yeah, and it really is unfortunate, especially when you count that you could have had a sweep in this series, blowing that lead late in the first game of the series, not great, and then fighting back on the in the series finale, coming up a little bit short. You still have an over 500 record, but right now you're 2 games under in the conference, not going to help you out all that much.
We usually just focus on baseball and softball, but lacrosse was in the news this week. They unfortunately had a tough loss as San Diego State lacrosse falls 18-8 to UC Davis in the Aggies women's lacrosse program. Tatum Neach had 4 goals. Lila Turley had 3. They're now 2-10 and 0-2 in the Big 12 with a huge test coming. They got the number 7th ranked Florida Gators women's lacrosse team. It's always fun talking about some of the niche sports in the conferences they're in. San Diego State is in the same conference as Florida, and they're in the Big 12 in women's lacrosse. Isn't that fun? I mean,
it's fantastic.
You know what? I've been an advocate for the Aztecs joining the Big 12. The fact is, they're in the Big 12. I don't know why I'm complaining. They're in the Big 12. They just don't have any other Big 12 schools in the Big 12, and you got schools like Florida and the SEC in that same conference. So tough loss for the women's lacrosse team that's a D1 sport over at San Diego State. But that's what's fun about some of the niche sports, Frank. You get to see them participate in a lot of different conferences.
Yeah, absolutely. And you had a San Diego State alum win the PGA Tournament this week.
That's right. Add that. JJ Spahn. Add that to the Aztec update. Another Aztec. You know what? we don't talk about golf a lot on this show when it comes to the, especially the college level. San Diego State's got some pretty good pro golfers right now on the PGA Tour. So congratulations to JJ Spahn. But a big weekend for baseball. Softball still battling back and forth. JJ Spahn wins the Valero Open or something like that down in Texas.
That's crazy.
So it's a pretty good week for the Aztecs nonetheless on our Aztecs Weekly Update.